Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Daniel. I'm an NCBOLD ambassador, and this is Agent Engagement Stealthy Strategies for Dynamic Learning. In order to follow the presentation at your own pace, I encourage you to open your web browser and type in this bit.ly link here at the top. Just a little bit about myself. I was a fifth grade teacher at Sam D. Bundy Elementary School in Farmville for the last 7 years. That's in Pitt County, North Carolina, where ECU is. I'm starting a new role this year as an assistant principal. I am a triplet. I have two sisters. This is Megan in the middle and Maddie on the far left. I got my bachelor's degree in elementary education from ECU and will graduate with my master's degree in school administration in the spring. This is my third year as an NCBOLD ambassador, and I was the Pitt County Schools Teacher of the Year in 2022. Here's a peek at how this session aligns with some of our new digital learning competencies. And in terms of intended participant outcomes, my overall goal revolves around you, the viewer, gaining 3 to 5 new strategies that can be used to specifically target increased student engagement, student participation, and academic rigor. If you would like to take notes, feel free to access the PDF and print it to write, or if you would like to type notes, you can click the Google Docs version. So as a little bit of a warm-up, I'm going to start with an activity called The Answer Is, What is the Question? This is a great idea for educators to kind of open their class. Lots of times we open our class with an overarching question. This is just the opposite. Instead, we give an answer and students have to guess what the question is. So we're going to try that. The answer is 3 months. What is the question? Now, I'll give you a hint. The question has something to do with education, but it is not directly content specific. So the question does not involve the date of a particular event or the duration of something according to a math problem. This just relates to teaching and learning as a whole. So I'll give you a second. Try and think about what it is. So the answer is 3 months. The question is, how much time is lost with an ineffective teacher? As someone who's recently an administrator, I spent a large amount of my summer interviewing candidates for teaching positions. And this statistic really helped shape and reaffirm the overarching idea that just because there's a teacher in the classroom doesn't mean that all of our problems are solved. So yes, very scary here. We're losing as much as a third of the school year with ineffective teaching. So how do we kind of move past this? On my worst days, I describe teaching as a hostage situation. I don't know if you've ever been there before. Students act as if I'm holding them against their will. They're counting down the minutes until they're reunited with their loved ones, and they're passively giving into my demands because I kind of have to threaten them every now and then with consequences. So, how do we kind of avoid this trap? The solution is to build what is referred to as the optimal experience. A particular psychologist studied the optimal experience, and he said it's the state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The experience is so enjoyable that people will continue to do it, even at great cost, for the sheer sake of doing it. He also referred to this optimal experience as building something that he called a seamless flow. Now, he did not study the optimal experience in terms of education, but he broke down several factors that go into creating an optimal experience. And we're going to call these our covert tactics. All right. So if our mission is to provide the optimal experience for our students and in turn create a seamless flow of activities and information, here are the things that we need. And once again, these were not directly related to education, but I don't know about you all. When I look at these, I think some, if not all of them, can all directly relate to the educational setting. Now, it's hard to achieve 8 of these things in one lesson. So I told myself, okay, what are the 4 things that directly connect to teaching and learning? And these were the ones that I picked. Clear goals, immediate feedback, balance between challenge and skill, and a sense of control. So, what do covert tactics look like in the classroom? Clear goals. This is going beyond your I can statements and your essential questions. This is more so related to students know exactly what they are to do and the purpose of the task that they are working on. They know what success looks like. They know what success doesn't look like. They know exactly what to do next. They know what to do if they finish early, all of that kind of stuff. Immediate feedback. So teachers provide students with timely and specific feedback on their performance. Feedback doesn't just have to be a grade, it can also be verbal feedback and comments as well. When I think about a balance between challenge and skill, what happens in classrooms when our tasks are too easy? Our students get bored. Well, what happens when our tasks are too difficult? Students become frustrated, and when frustration kind of boils over, the kids just kind of shut down and don't do anything. When boredom or frustration happen, the students stop working and thinking altogether. So we need to make sure that we avoid that. Last but not least, we have a sense of control. When, as teachers, can we give students some degree of choice and autonomy in their learning activities? So, as we talk about various activities in this session today, I want you to think about these 4 covert tactics and how they may be embedded in some or all of the activities that I'm about to go over. All right, the first thing that we're going to talk about is how do we foster active engagement and inquiry? When I think about active engagement, I think about kids up and moving. When I think about inquiry, I think about kids learning on accident, kind of learning through their own trial and error and their own discovery rather than me giving them all of the information. So the first example I have of this is a game called Quiz Quiz Trade. I take, here, I'll click on, well, you can click on this example. I'm scared it won't pop up on my screen recording, but remember, with the bit.ly link, you have access to all of these resources. You have completed examples of these activities from my classroom, and then a blank template where you can kind of make these match what it is that you need. So the way that Quiz Quiz Trade works is each participant gets a card, right? So maybe these are some of the cards that I would pass out. I give students a second to practice reading the card to themselves, and they can also ask for my help if they're struggling reading anything or the words are unknown. Then I have all the students stand behind their chair and I play some music. As soon as the music plays, students are free to walk around the room in an area that you allow. When the music stops, they find the nearest partner, and then one person at a time will quiz the other. So let's say, for example, this is my card and I found a partner. I would look at them and I would say, which phase of the water cycle involves liquid water turning into water vapor due to the sun's heat? I would give these students one opportunity to guess the question correctly. So let's say, for example, someone said condensation. Well, that's not the answer. So I would say something along the lines of, oh, so close, not quite. It's actually evaporation. Then the next person would read their card to me. What do we call fractions with a 1 in the numerator? I'm a math teacher, so I definitely know this one. I say the answer is unit fraction. And they say, very good, correct. So we've quizzed one another. That's the quiz portion. Now we trade cards. So I give this card to my partner, and my partner gives this card to me. We wait for the teacher's directions, and the music will start again. And the process repeats. I find a new partner. We read each other our cards. We quiz, then we trade. This is a really fun way to get kids up and moving and to assess all sorts of things. Specifically, vocabulary is what this works best for. Another activity that fosters some active engagement is Splat. All right. So the way that Splat works is, let's say for this example, I've got a poster board of all sorts of words that directly relate to a particular topic. I, as the teacher, can read the definition of one of these terms or give them a clue as far as what term I'm referring to. So let's say if I had 2 students in front of me and I was the teacher, and I might say, this particular biotic ecosystem has brackish water. That's an estuary. So the first person to slap or splat this term with their fly swatter gets a point, a high five, piece of candy, whatever. Um, you could play this a variety of ways. I typically would want more than 2 students participating at a time. So what I recommend is maybe you have multiple copies of the same chart paper posted around the room so as many students can participate at the same time as possible. I've also done this in math with comparing and ordering decimals. I might say, splat the number with a 2 in the 10th place, or I might say splat the number with a 5 in the tens place, and different things like that. Here's some other examples and some things that you can kind of explore on your own for other examples of active engagement and inquiry. The next thing that we're going to talk about is how we can embrace technology as an amplifier. Lots of times in education, technology is kind of used as a babysitter, and we really want to avoid that at all costs. The first way that we're going to talk about this is through an activity that I've made called Mathematics Manor. Mathematics Manor can be accessed using this bit.ly link right here, and essentially it was what I used to prepare my students for an upcoming NC check-in. You could use this for anything that you wanted. All you need is a question bank. So the way that the slideshow works is that some of the slides have different rooms on them, and the students click on these numbers, and as soon as they click on a number, a question pops up. I put students in groups of 2 to 3. Each team got an artifact sheet that's also linked here below. And when they went to the bit.ly link, like I said, the students answered one question at a time. So within their groups of 2 or 3, they would solve question number 1, let's say, for example. They would show their work, they would write their answer clearly, and they would raise their hand. If the students were correct, I allowed them to move on to the next question. If they were incorrect, from that point, I had them redo the problem until they got it correct. I also, in the background, played some scary music and some sounds that's linked in this slideshow as well. It really kind of helped amp up the environment. Another way that I amped up the environment this past year is I did a room transformation. Now, I'm going to be honest, I did this activity for 7 years, and this was the first year that I ever added some decorations to the room. It was nice. It added, a nice little element of engagement. However, it's really not necessary, and my students in previous years were just as engaged without all the decorations. Another example of how to use technology as an amplifier is something that I called the Fractions Bowl. Although I call this the Fractions Bowl, you could just call this the Super Bowl, and you could use it with any content that you teach. So this time, students were in a bit bigger teams, teams of like 3 to 4. They received a playbook. In other words, this was just a fancy name for a book of problems or questions. Students would answer one question at a time. For each correct answer, when you open this slideshow, you'll see the last slide is a football field. For each question they got right, the students were able to come up to my smart board at the front of the room and click and drag their icon for whatever team they were on 10 yards up the field. So essentially, if you got so many questions right, you eventually scored a touchdown. And so teams were just kind of simultaneously working against one another, and I kept score. And it was really fun. There were also rules and penalties, just like football. They were outlined in the slideshow as well. So I invite you to take a peek at those. The last thing we're going to talk about is how to cultivate a culture of collaboration. If our students are unable to work together, lots of times these activities are not going to turn out very well. So I got my students to work together as early and as often as possible. One example of a collaborative activity involves a game called Piece of Candy Pyramid. This is a partner activity. I created a list of words in tiered levels. As you can see, these are all academic vocabulary. And the way that this would work is one person's back is facing the board and the other person faces away. Let me try that again. One person faces away from the board and their partner faces the board. And what the partner that facing the board does is they give clues for each of these individual words. They could give definitions, they could give examples, and as partners correctly guess the words on the slide, they can move in this direction. The goal is to eventually make it down to the final term and to guess all of these correctly. On the bit.ly link, like I said, that was shared at the beginning of the presentation, you can actually watch a video of some of my students playing this game. And per usual, I've got example slides and blank slides for you to use in your classroom. The last game we're going to talk about is a game called Chance. Once again, students can form teams of 3 or 4. I say no more than 4, though, otherwise it gets kind of chaotic. Students can work together to answer one question at a time, and they raise their hand when they have answered one question and they are ready for their work to be checked. If the students get the question right, You can give them a Unifix cube, a counter, a balled up piece of paper, something that they can put inside one of these solo cups. After answering 4 to 5 questions, the teacher stops the game and asks the students, all right, would you like to swap any of your cubes or whatever you put inside the cup and put them in a different cup? And then the teacher can reveal how much each cup is worth. So let's say for this particular round, I asked students 4 questions, and this team got 3 questions right. So because they got 3 questions right, they put 2 cubes in the blue cup and 1 cube in the purple cup. So 1 cube here is worth 10 points, 2 cubes here are worth 4 points. So for that round, they accumulated 14 points. The game goes on for several rounds of 4 to 5 questions, and in between each round, students will empty their cups, and actually the point values change throughout the game. So here's one example of points. You'll see in my example slide how they change. Eventually, some of the cups are worth negative points. This is a great way for you middle school math teachers to really start teaching integers, because it's also the kids' responsibility to calculate their score if it's something that's mathematically attainable for them to do. This activity took place in my face-to-face session. So rather than leading you through it, I'm going to invite you to kind of reflect on these different questions on your own. Here are some references and resources that I've used to help build this session and sessions in the past. And as always, we welcome your feedback. Once again, my name was Matt Daniel. If you have any questions about any of the resources or have any access issues, feel free to email me here at this email address. And I hope you have a wonderful and successful school year.